Hello and very warm welcome. Today I am starting my topic on bioconcentration, bioaccumulation and biomagnification of pesticides.
Slide number 2. The use of pesticide has long been known to the human civilization. Humans have been using the pesticides to kill the pests for long. A number of pesticides used earlier include the chemical extracted from the plant as pyrethrum, the arsenic as arsenic-laden pesticides, sulfuric acid and even sulfur compounds. Including many other pesticides, these were used earlier to protect the crops. But in around 1930s, when the modern synthetic chemistry developed, numerous chemical compounds were prepared. These chemical compounds had the protection capacity against the pests. So these were considered as pesticides. After the World War II, number of other pesticides came into existence. These pesticides were extensively used in agriculture. The agriculture industry was also developing in those times with the Green Revolution, which basically aimed in protection of the crops and for having higher yield in order to support the growing population. So the agriculture was developing by the use of other means like irrigation, better seeds or disease-resistant seeds, or the other means like use of fertilizers which can enrich the soil quality. The pesticides were particularly used to protect from number of field pests or even the stored pests. Slide number 3. Pesticides. These are substances or mixture of substances which can be applied on the fields as well as in stored pest conditions to kill, destroy, repel or even mitigate pests. But what are pests? Pests are biological agents. These can be microorganisms, these can be certain types of plants, these can be insects which are troublesome to the crops or to the food material. These can destroy the food or cause harmful destructive effects. So the use of pesticides is recommended to remove this trouble by killing, destroying or repelling the pests. The term pesticide is a broader term and it is used for a variety of agents that are classified specifically on the basis of the pattern of use and the target organism which is being killed by the pesticides, as the insecticides for insects, the fungicides for the fungi, the herbicides for the herbs or the weedicides for the weeds. Slide 4. After the application of pesticides, only about 1% reaches to the target pest. The rest is lost into the environmental components through spray drifts, off-target deposition, runoff with rains or even photodegradation. Once the pesticides are applied, these become part of the environment and its metabolism and degradation as well as persistence depends on its chemical nature and reactivity. Slide 5. The pesticides are hazardous to human as well as the entire ecosystem due to its persistence in environment. Many such chemicals persist in environment for years and remain as environmental pollutants. The exposure of these pollutants can occur through occupation in the workers working in the manufacturing industry or the farmers which apply the same in the field. In the environment also, number of residues remain which are present in air, water and soil which are causing exposure to the entire ecosystem. All these cause undesirable hazardous effects on non-target communities, the ecosystem and ultimately the human beings also. Slide 6. The biological interaction of pesticides. The flora and fauna in terrestrial as well as aquatic environment are particularly susceptible to pesticidal exposure. Pesticides can enter the animal body by intake of food, water as well as through surface absorption. Once inside the body of the organism, it can cause variable degree of harmful effects. This is expected result for the target insect larvae or adult forms. But the non-target organisms which coexist with the target organisms are also exposed. Thus, the intentionally or accidentally exposed organisms are variably affected. Slide 7. Intake and depuration. As the pesticides are not the usual metabolites of any living body, its intake, metabolism and exit from multicellular body is driven by the animal's intrinsic activity. The intake of the contaminant can take place through respiration, food, absorption, through general body surface also. The removal of the contaminant from the body of the organism is the cleansing process, which is referred to as depuration. Slide 8. We discuss the definitions: the bioaccumulation, bioconcentration and biomagnification. In case of contaminant intake, chiefly by respiration, and the contaminant is retained in the body due to insufficient depuration, the phenomena is called bioconcentration. But if all the modes of contaminant intake is considered as food, water, respiration and direct contact followed by retention in the body, the phenomena is referred to as bioaccumulation. Both the terms bioaccumulation and bioconcentration are used for animals in one trophic level only. The animals of higher trophic levels accumulate magnified quantities of pesticides in their tissues by regularly thriving on animals of lower trophic levels with accumulated pesticides. This phenomena of unexpectedly elevated level of contaminant in animals of higher trophic level is called biomagnification. In slide 9, we discuss the comparative chart of bioaccumulation, concentration and biomagnification. The bioconcentration includes the intake of pesticide or any chemical only through respiration, and it works only in one trophic level. In case of bioaccumulation, the intake of the pesticide is through all the means including respiration, food or direct contact, and the effects are seen in only one trophic level. In biomagnification, the intake of pesticide is by consumption of animals with bioaccumulated pesticides. The level of pesticide increase with rise in trophic levels. In slide 10, we discuss the factors which influence bioaccumulation. First is age. As pesticides persist in environment, their concentration increase in the animal body with the age of the organism. The second is the biological half-life. The extent of poisoning does depend on the biological half-life of the chemical. This is the time taken by the body to eliminate 1/2 of the accumulated toxin from the body. Thus, the longer the half-life of the pesticide or the chemical, the greater the toxicity and the environmental impact. The third is the lipophilicity of the pesticide, which plays a role as an essential component of bioaccumulation. As persistent pesticides with lipophilic nature seek complexation with organic lipid containing materials which is present in the living or dead biological material. Slide number 11, bioaccumulation and bioconcentration testing. This testing is basically done for biological risk assessment of certain chemicals including pesticides. As the aquatic flora and fauna are particularly susceptible to the introduction of excess xenobacteric components, the biological risk assessments are done in many cases taking the aquatic conditions. Here, the aquatic flora and fauna can be taken as the biological test organism against a single pesticide. So these tests, there are a number of test organisms which can be used. These can be algae. There are a number of insect larvae. Insect larvae in many cases can be used as biological indicators of pollutions. Certain fishes as herbivore fishes like minnows are commonly used. The fat-head minnows and the sheephead minnows, bluegills are used. Mollusks, particularly bivalves, are popularly used as oysters and mussels. Many insect larvae as mayflies, stoneflies and cattlefly larvae are particularly of found importance. Certain amphibians and birds are also considered important in the trophic levels. The tests are designed to estimate the bioconcentration and bioaccumulation potential of any chemical or the pesticide. For this, the concentration of the chemical or pesticide is assessed in the test organism as well as in the water body aquatic conditions or the sediments. The concentration is also estimated with the cleansing process as the intake and the removal or from the body called the cleansing depurination. The certain conditions are considered important for the same. The specific features include the biological features like the age of the organism, the physiological condition of the organism, reproductive condition and the sexual maturity. The site-specific factors are also considered here as the organic matter content, including the particulate in the sediment, the particle size of the sediments, temperature, pH and other salts and chemicals in the water body. Slide number 12, equilibrium. While testing the bioaccumulation or the concentration level for the biological risk assessment of any pesticide or chemical or any xenobacteric compounds, the equilibrium state has to be studied or has to be achieved. This is the steady state or the dynamic steady state between the intake and the elimination of the chemical from the biological system. The intake of the chemical into the biological system generally can occur through many sources, as we have already discussed, as a respiration or through food or through the direct contact. But the elimination process generally takes place by the metabolism of the body. Many times the chemical or the pesticide are metabolized. It can be broken down into less toxic compound or the toxicity can also increase. Otherwise, it can be removed directly by the excretion process. In many cases, these chemicals get stabilized into the body tissue of the animal. So the equilibrium state takes certain time duration. For the bioconcentration testing, the initial equilibrium has to be studied, but in case of bioaccumulation, the longer duration has to be provided so that the accumulation through other sources as food or direct contact can also be registered. Slide 13, we talk about the bioconcentration factor BCF. The bioconcentration and bioaccumulation are estimated from the concentration of pesticide or any chemical in the test animal in relation to the concentration in the test water or test sediments. The concentration of the pesticide in biological tissues is usually estimated in two phases, as the intake phase and the depuration or the cleansing phase, up to the time when the steady state is achieved. This is the equilibrium stage. As the concentration is a test of chemical accumulation by direct exposure, the duration of the test lasts up to the time when the initial steady state is achieved. Slide number 14, the bioconcentration factor. Here the formula has been mentioned which can be used to study or to estimate the bioconcentration factor of any pesticide or chemical in one particular test organism. This is studied by taking the formula as BCF is equals to C beta upon C alpha, or if we are testing the bioaccumulation, we can take CS. Here the C beta is the concentration of the pesticide or the chemical in the biota. This is the concentration in the test organism tissues. The other factor is the concentration in the environment. If we are estimating the BCF, that is the bioconcentration factor, this is the concentration in the water body, or if it is the airborne pesticide or chemical, it is the air concentration. On the other way around, when we are estimating the BAF, that is the bioaccumulation factor, we can take the second factor is the concentration in the sediments, because in bioaccumulation testing a longer duration of testing has to be performed. Here the sediment play an important role, as the organic material present in the sediment is gradually incorporated into the animal body, maybe through direct contact, or if the organic material is been taken as a food. Here we can also see these arrows. These arrows are showing the equilibrium state where there are two phases, the alpha phase and the beta phase. There are two phases in which the chemical is shuffling. The shuffling between the two phases is basically movement from the environment to the biological system. Here the biological system not only receives the pesticide passively, it also actively removes the pesticide from the body by the metabolic processes or the excretion. So the two-way arrow has been shown. Slide 15, the bioaccumulation factor BAF. The bioaccumulation can occur through foodborne sources, respiration or direct contact. It takes longer time to achieve steady state. The duration of intake period is usually about a month or until a steady state is attained. The depuration phase lasts until the pesticide concentration attains 10% steady state. The pesticide concentration is daily monitored in the test organism, test water, and bioconcentration factor and bioaccumulation factor is estimated. The sediment test water bioaccumulation tests are also commonly conducted to determine the bioavailability of sediment contaminants which can pose health hazards to the organism in the higher trophic chain. Slide 16. We discuss the use of BCF and BAF data. The data generated by using different test organisms and a variety of test chemicals or pesticides in different environmental sources as sediments or water bodies, it can be used to predict the concentration of chemical in any ecosystem, which can be aquatic or field. This data can be used to interpret the bioconcentration or bioaccumulation in various exposed organisms and the likely hazards. In other words, the biological risk assessment of any test organism as well as higher trophic level consumer can be performed with regard to test chemical. Slide 17. We talk about the biomagnification. The term biomagnification refers to increase in the concentration of the test chemical as it moves through the food chain. This occurs when pesticide or chemical passes from lower trophic level to higher trophic level consumer. With the magnification, unexpectedly higher accumulation of test chemical is present in the body of the organisms. These levels are far beyond the equilibrium concentration at which the steady state is achieved. This phenomena occur due to bioconcentration and bioaccumulation of the chemicals in the tissues of the animal in lower trophic levels. The fatty tissues in animals can accumulate residues of many chemicals. Slide 18, we continue with biomagnification. This long persistence and continuous use increases the pesticide load in the ecosystem. The bodily tissues readily bioconcentrate and bioaccumulate such pesticides up to the equilibrium level. This concentration of pesticide builds up geometrically in animal tissues as these are transferred to different steps in the food web. Slide 19, we discuss about the biomagnification of the DDT. The earlier scientists believed that solution to pollution is dilution and thought that the pesticide poison would be quickly lost in the nature. But the analysis of DDT at various trophic levels proved this belief as wrong. The chlorinated insecticides DDT concentration increases geometrically at each rise in trophic level. The hazardous effects of DDT has been widely observed on birds of prey. Their eggs became thin, causing them to break while incubation. The concentration of DDT in these birds were found to be unexpectedly high, which is explained by biomagnification. Here, the first trophic level was constituted by zooplanktons which contained 10 to the power minus 2 ppm of DDT. The minnows which consume these zooplanktons contain 10 to the power minus 1 ppm of DDT. The needlefishes which lie in the next trophic level as these thrive on minnows contained 1 ppm of DDT. And finally, the carnivorous birds in the highest trophic level contain 10 ppm of DDT. Slide number 20. The figure shown in the image is the pyramid of biomass, a schematic presentation of the same. The biomass pyramids are basically depicting the concentration of biomass or the size of the biomass at each trophic level. So the trophic levels start with the lowermost level, that is the producer level. The producers here are shown in the aquatic system, which are the plants, aquatic plants, the phytoplanktons as well. These are constantly exposed to the toxins or pesticides or the chemicals in the aquatic system, and thus a small quantity of the same is absorbed passively into the system. So they accumulate a small concentration of the pesticide. When this is consumed by the primary consumers like the herbivore animals, here the herbivore is depicted as the herbivore fishes, minnows. These fishes thrive upon plants, and once they consume the DDT or pesticide laden food material, a small quantity gets absorbed into the system. So the next level of trophic, that is the primary consumers, accumulate a higher concentration of the pesticide or chemical into the system. Here the concentration of DDT as per a study has been depicted. Although by respiration there is a loss of biomass as well as there is a loss of the DDT from the system also. So the loss has been depicted by these arrows on the right side, and the concentration of DDT is represented by the dots in each of the pyramid column. The higher trophic level comes with the secondary consumers. The secondary consumers are the carnivorous animals. Here it is the carnivorous fishes like needlefish, but there are many other animals which are in the same trophic levels, which will consume the primary consumers. So the primary consumers have already accumulated a proportion of the DDT or the pesticide in their tissues. When these are consumed by the secondary consumers, they are again exposed to a higher concentration. And since food is a regular process of intake, so the regular intake can lead to higher concentration into the tissues, although the loss of by excretion is also mentioned. And the final trophic level is the tertiary consumer level. Here the carnivorous animals falling into the secondary consumer trophic level are consumed by the tertiary consumers. Here the birds of prey are depicted. These are the most effective ones as they are found to accumulate extremely high concentrations of DDT and maybe other pesticides. Here the 10 ppm concentration of DDT was found in many of the prey birds. This concentration was actually hazardous to the growth and fecundity and as well as the abundance of the animals. The pyramid here shows the boxes are depicting the pyramids, and the dots are depicting the DDT concentration, and there are certain residues of DDT which are left. So in all, we can consider that at each trophic level increase or rise, the concentration of DDT increases in the biological system. Slide 21. We talk about the consequences of DDT biomagnification. The top predators were most affected by biomagnification, with a decrease in their abundance all over the world. Numerous studies provided abundant evidences that the tertiary carnivores in the highest trophic level or the end of the longer food chains like ospreys, pelicans, falcons and eagles suffered serious declines in fecundity and consequently in their population size. Realizing the danger to biodiversity by the use of DDT, it was banned in the Western European countries around the middle of 1970s, although the old Eastern European nations continued its use up to 2000s. This caused the greater loss of herrings in the region. Slide number 22. The models explaining the biomagnification. There are many models, but here we are considering two models, lipid co-assimilation model and the gastrointestinal model. The lipid co-assimilation model is based on the chemical diffusion principle. The assimilation of high concentration of contaminants in the higher trophic level is proposed through passive partitioning, which is thought to occur for hydrophobic organic compounds. So the pesticides like organochlorines are suggested to cross the biomembranes, similar to lipids and fat-soluble vitamins. Slide 23. We discuss the non-dietary mechanism. This includes factors like differences in spatial distribution of contaminants. The smaller animals have small movement potential, but large fishes and migratory birds can travel long distances with variables of contaminant levels. Thus, many fishes have been found to accumulate comparatively low contaminant levels despite of being found close to the contaminant hotspots. The seasonal pulse of contaminants can also favor the depuration or the cleansing, as the animal loses the extra contaminant from body in order to reach to the equilibrium. Slide 24. We discuss about the food web bioaccumulation. This includes the loss as well as the accumulation of pesticide with the passage to higher trophic level. This magnification depends on the predator-prey relationship in the food web. In many cases, this magnification can account to 10,000 to 100,000 times increase in lipid normalized concentration of a bioaccumulative substance. Slide 25. We discuss about biodilution. The actual bioaccumulation of any chemical depends on the combined rate of bioaccumulation and elimination. If the combined rate of accumulation is high, it results in biomagnification. But if the elimination rate is high, then the chemical concentration in animal body is not maintained, and such chemicals will not biomagnify. The chemicals which are chiefly absorbed through the food and predominantly are eliminated due to metabolic transformation and excretion exhibit the phenomena of biodilution with the passage through the food chain. This phenomena is opposite to biomagnification. Slide 26. We talk about the biotransformation of pesticide. The chemical properties of pesticides face different environmental and biological conditions. These conditions can be temperature, radiation, presence of lipids or enzymes. All these act upon the pesticides, converting it into less toxic or more toxic products. Many times the metabolic transformations also form easily excreted products. Finally, we come to the conclusion of the presentation. The xenobiotic compounds like pesticides are on one hand an essential compound for sustainable agriculture, but on the other hand, these can cause hazardous consequences against non-target organisms. After the realizations of these hazardous toxic conditions developing in the environment, resulting in the reduction of animal abundance and diversity, alternative strategies for sustainable agriculture were proposed. The crops can be protected from pests by methods like organic farming, using genetically modified pest-resistant varieties, use of biodegradable pesticides with low persistence is also possible. The use and application frequency of the pesticide should be regulated and made safe. For this, the farmers and other users should be provided training for regulated uses. Frequent risk assessment of application dose and environmental impact need to be conducted. Now we have come to the end of this presentation, and I think that with the extensive idea developed through this presentation as well as the e-content, we have developed a good knowledge about the bioaccumulation, bioconcentration and biomagnification. Please do analyze your knowledge gaining through the assessment quadrant also. Thank you for the patient listening and having interest in this topic.